What's up, guys? Alright, before we hop into the deadlifts, I like to do a little warm-up. Me personally, I like doing box jumps. So anything explosive like this really gets the heart rate up and really activates the central nervous system. And again, anything like 3 to 6 warm-up sets here, increasing the height with each one will really help get all your cylinders firing. Obviously, within level of comfort, whatever you're comfortable with. Here we go. This is the deadlift. Now, the deadlift is the king of all strength movements. Now, I don't care what kind of athlete you are. I don't care what you're training for. Doesn't matter. The deadlift should be a part of your program. Now, for this program, we want to hit deadlifts once a week. So it'll be a second leg day for you, obviously separated from your squat day. But just like the squat, this is a movement I see so many people doing incorrectly. So let's dive right into it and I'll show you how. First things first is the setup. Now there's a few different styles of deadlift, but we're going to be doing conventional. Now you'll see right here, you see I get real close to the bar. My stance is real close. Now how close? Wherever your femurs connect at your hip, and go straight down. And notice how the bar in my visual field is cutting my feet in half. So that's how close the bar needs to be before you even reach down to grab the bar. Now that you understand where the feet go, let's go over the rest of the setup. I'm going to slow down this video for you so we can really take it all in. So notice, walk up to the bar, I plant my feet just like I was saying before, right where my femurs connect at the hips, and straight down, bar nice and close. Now notice where I grip the bar. I'm gripping the bar directly straight down where my arms hang from my shoulders. So if I'm looking in the mirror, there should be no angle on my arms. They should not be angled outward or inward. They go straight down, just like the legs. And then boom, right before I pull, I drop the hips as if I'm sitting on the toilet. And I keep the chest up, and then I drive with my legs to pull the weight up. So you see right here, I can make eye contact with myself in the mirror the whole set. So you see, a good conventional deadlift should actually feel like a leg press. Something else I want you to take note of, my feet are firmly planted on the ground. I see a lot of people when they're deadlifting incorrectly, where they're leaning too far forward, where their heels come off the ground. You want to be driving through your heels. Now let's take a look at it from a side angle. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I was talking about before. I set my stance, then I set my grip, pull the bar nice and close, and right before I lift, drop my hips like I'm sitting on the toilet, chest up, and drive with my legs like I'm pushing the earth down. Now I want you to take notice of my hips. I'm hinging with the hips on each one. This is a hinge movement. So it should all be hinging with the hips. Now I'm actually going to take my belt off right here so we can take a better look at my back. This is where I see a lot of rookies making mistakes. Take a notice that my spine is straight. It's straight the whole way through. It's straight at the beginning. It's straight when I'm going through. It's straight at the top. I see a ton of rookies doing almost a question mark with their spine when they're pulling, and that means you're pulling incorrectly. And let's watch it again, only in slow-mo. I really can't stress this enough. When you're pulling on a deadlift, you are driving with your legs. So on a conventional deadlift, you should feel most of the tension in your hamstrings and in your glutes. If you're feeling most of the tension in your lower back, then you're doing it wrong. So again, let's really watch here. You see my spine is straight. My shoulders are rolled back, so my chest is up. So if you're not sure if you're doing this right, if you're feeling a ton of tension in your lower back, go ahead and record yourself doing it. If you notice your spine is doing a little bit of a question mark, then you're doing it wrong. I don't care how heavy you're lifting. I don't care if you're maxing out. You should be able to do this correctly every single time. So if you're maxing out and your back does that whole question mark type look where you're bending your spine, then that means there's weaknesses in your posterior chain. This means we need to work on your flexibility, probably need to stretch a little bit more after your workouts, and quite frankly, you need to do more lightweight deadlifting. You only want to deadlift with a weight where you can do this form correctly. See right here, bar is close, spine is straight, boom. My feet are flat, driving through my heels on each and every rep. So even when I'm bringing the bar down, notice how my spine is still straight. I can't tell you how often I see someone who does pull something in their back, or they pinch something, or something along those lines, all because they rolled their spine. So you see, let's take a look at it again. So I'm going to lower the weight. Notice how my hips go back. See how far back my hips are? So I'm basically sticking my ass out and boom, pull just like that. So again, I can't stress this enough. Record yourself doing it so that way you can see for yourself. And if your form is good and you've already properly warmed up, then you can do your working sets. Same formula as we would for any of our other strength movements. Now, I do get a few questions about why I stagger my grip, so notice I have a different grip between my left hand and my right hand. I find this most effective for when I'm lifting heavy. It's quite frankly personal preference, so if you do stagger your grip, then I recommend changing the grip each set. So switch which hand you have facing forward and which you have facing backward, so that way you don't develop any sort of imbalances. But again, personal preference. And for the rest of your leg workout, let's go ahead and do very similar giant sets that you would on your squat day. Feel free to add a little bit of variation there. So for example, if you don't hit the bonus quad extensions on your squat day, then you can go ahead and hit it on your deadlift day. But it's personal preference, up to you. Go ahead and add in all those other giant sets so that way you can really blast your legs. And of course, once you do your 2 giant sets, then I would highly recommend doing your conditioning at the end of the workout. Again, about 10 to 15 minutes depending on time. I would recommend making the conditioning something a little bit more oriented towards legs. So, for example, you could just do wind sprints. If you've never done wind sprints before, then don't add them just yet. They do require some very particular coaching in order to add those to do them correctly. But quite frankly, you could even just do the high-intensity interval training on the Stairmaster that I mentioned earlier. But totally up to you, as long as you can get in your 10 to 15 minutes worth of conditioning.